Hello, here's another video about invest for life. In other words, long term. Why do I do these videos? Because uncertainty creates anxiety. Understanding helps create confidence. The future will always be uncertain, but your financial decisions don't have to be. For over 30 years, I've seen the same questions come up over and over. Will my money last? What if the market crashes? Am I making the right decisions? How do I stay calm when everyone else is panicking? And many more, all to do with uncertainty. My videos are to help answer these questions for you. Why do some investors get it wrong? It's not because they're unintelligent, it's because they're human. When everyone is excited, it's hard not to get excited. When everyone is panicking, it's hard not to panic. We've all done it. And today's question is, what's the biggest mistake I could make? The biggest mistake an inexperienced investor could make is thinking long term, but then acting short term. Imagine planting a fruit tree. You know it'll take years before it produces fruit, but every few weeks you dig it up and check the roots. That's exactly what inexperienced investors do. They start by investing for the long term, but every bit of bad news makes them worry. Then they act short term. Here's one client story. He retired about here, and shares were bad value, and he stayed in cash, which was only getting a 1% return at the time. That was thinking long term. The market went up, and his friends said to buy. They made money, more than him. They tried to help him. Don't forget that. They tried to help him. And he felt tempted. I reminded him to think long term and act long term. Bless him, he did. Then COVID came. Acting long term paid off for him. He lost nothing. Now his friend said, don't buy. Once again, he acted long term and bought. Bingo, he did well. So the moral of the story, not buying here is long-term thinking. If he had bought here, it would be acting short-term, which would have been disastrous. Moral of the story is, think long-term, act long-term. Be prepared to wait and wait. But you must have good reasons to keep you on track and wait. Let me show you some good reasons. Have a long-term strategy, understand it, and turn down the noise. So a good long-term strategy is only buy shares when they're good value. So see more on this, see my video for more on this. Why shares? Well, as I talked about in an earlier video, shares in the long term are the best investment, beating bonds and cash by a long way. Why good value? Well, because when you buy good value, you get better returns in the long term and less risk, because this is the average here. When you buy high value, bad value, you're more likely to get lower returns. Short term, shares are worse. Here's an example. The market there looks like it going up. Where will it go? Who knows? Could go up, sideways, or it could go down. But this is what it did do. Remember, we didn't know. Investing in shares is long term. It's a good investment. Historically, quality shares have tended to produce better returns than cash and bonds, but only over the long term. And remember, not all shares, we need to diversify. in the short term. Where do we invest while we're waiting for shares to be good value? It can still be a long-term strategy. It may take a while before they're good value. Here's an example of where shares aren't good in the short term. In October 23, we bought here and it didn't work in the short term. But in the long term, it did. Long term is best for shares, right? But you must stay focused on the plan. How do you stay focused on the plan? Use a proven long-term strategy, be confident in it, and tone down the noise. Proven long-term strategy, invest for the long term, only buy good value, diversify, reduce risk, and build reliable income. Shares are a proven long-term strategy. Buying good value is a long-term strategy. So how do you be confident in your strategy? Know it. In other words, watch all these videos that I make. Understand it. Experience it. And that takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. As you experience it, your confidence grows. And see it work over time. Be your own expert. Don't listen to anyone else. Know yourself. Know that there can be times when you panic or get excited. And always remain optimistic. And be involved in it. Don't just leave it up to an advisor. Get involved yourself and understand what's going on. So now we turn down the noise. What does this mean? It means to reduce distractions, gossip, or mental clutter so you can focus on what's truly important. Some examples of noise, distractions, gossip, and mental clutter. And here's some. I'm sure you've seen these on TV. How do you feel after looking at that? Confident? I wouldn't. So don't look at it. Turn down the noise. Don't watch the news. Don't watch Bookface or Facebook if you like. Be careful whose opinions you listen to. Don't confuse opinions with facts. Now, I find it hard not to do something or to not do something. I find it a lot easier to do something, like focus on what's important, like my YouTube channel. What is important? Facts. So facts like shares are best in the long term, and the risk-reward ratio we saw in one of my previous videos. Good value or bad value isn't good value is good in the long term and less risk. They're facts. And then how to have your portfolio. Where is it? Is it all in shares or is it very defensive like this one? Another fact is buckets. Have you got buckets? Reliable income. The PE ratio. And is it good value? All this to prevent you buying here and selling here, when you should be selling here and buying here based on facts like these. Risks and downsides. You may get low returns while waiting. May even go down even when you buy good value. The market may go up when you don't buy. Remember this success story from my client who bought in COVID? The reason he succeeded wasn't because he could predict the future. It was because he trusted his process when everyone else was following their emotions. Today's question was, what's the biggest mistake I could make? And the answer is thinking long term but acting short term. The solution is have a proven long-term strategy, understand why it works, turn down the noise, trust facts more than opinions, give good investments enough time to work. That's how long-term investors become successful. Successful investing isn't about predicting the future, it's about giving good investments enough time to work. And in summary, have a long-term strategy, one that is proven to work, stick to it, and focus on facts, not opinions. Time is one of the most powerful tools an investor has. I won't ask you to believe this because I say so. I encourage you to test it for yourself, then decide whether it makes sense for you. Would you like to know more? Well, check out my website or see the rest of my YouTube channel. And here's a general advice warning. This is a simple Gavinized version. This presentation is for educational purposes only. The information is reasonably accurate. Some poetic license has been taken to a small degree for explanation purposes, just to make it easier to understand. And most importantly, get advice from an expert before doing anything. And the next one is the official version. If you want to read all that, you can pause the video and read it, and I'm moving on. And remember, you can be confident that good decisions improve your chances of having enough money. Thank you, and have a great day.